Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Selling a little or a lot? Do your thing however you cha-ching with Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/offer23. This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Selling a little or a lot? Do your thing however you cha-ching with Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/offer23.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
Yeah. And, for the ladies, just to know, is the thing is that if he's having sex with you, he wants to have sex with you. It's not like all of a sudden, you know what? I was in the middle of this and just,
You did gain 10 pounds. I could see it right there.
Yeah, he's not thinking about that at all. He's enjoying himself.
Hey girl, imagine a life where you feel supported, connected, and understood. I get it. Being a mom is hard, especially when you're spinning so many plates. We exhaust ourselves trying to create the perfect life for our family. You deserve to enjoy your family without the stress perfectionism brings. On this podcast, I provide practical and relatable life experiences. I teach women quick and easy to use strategies to help them reclaim their identity, reignite their marriage, and enjoy their children. If you're ready to be challenged, then pull up a chair, grab a pen and paper because it's about to go down. I'm Veronica Cisneros, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is the Empowered and Unapologetic Podcast. Today's guest, Brian, also known as Uncle B Ayers, is a men's sexual performance coach with over 22 years of experience. His research into men's sexual health led him to create the Men's Sexual Performance Scale and the revolutionary EIS, I totally had to rehearse that, 25 sexual health program, along with 2 books, How to Be a Better Lover in 30 Days or Less, and Go Hard. Uncle B connects with people by showing an easy way to build lifelong health without relying on medications. He focuses on helping people build stronger relationships by having superior health for fulfilling sex life. So, Uncle B, thank you so much for joining us today. It is an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Hey, I'm glad to be here.
So I was, kind of offline. I was saying the minute I seen your username, Give Good Wood, I was like, okay, yeah, hell yeah. We got to have him. We got to have him on the podcast. Him on the podcast. So this is a topic a lot of people don't talk about.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, primarily couples. And one of the primary reasons why here in session, or the clients that I coach, why they don't talk about it is because they're afraid to shame their partner. they're afraid to go ahead and have an open discussion. And then in addition to that, there's so much fear with not even knowing how to start the discussion. We're going to cover all of that. But before we do, how did you become the one? How did you become Uncle B?
Well, basically, my thought process is when it comes to giving information, I am just like your uncle. I love you and I don't care about you at the same time. So I don't care about your feelings. If I have to tell you the truth and it's going to hurt, I'll laugh.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm no chaser and still come by the family reunion and eat up all your mama and daddy's potato salad. That's the way I get down.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. You're going to hate me sometimes, and we're going to get through it together. I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about your educational background and how you were able to go ahead and write a book about this topic, because this is a big one. This is a big topic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So basically, when I was in third grade, I was thinking to myself, no, I'm kidding. No,
I was like, okay. Who knows? Who knows?
Hey. Well, actually, it started when, I was engaged and I was with a young lady and she's from Liberia. And we went to a holiday party, a Christmas party, and there was a root in a bottle. And we're like, hey, what is that? I was like, oh, it's an aphrodisiac. I'm like, okay, pour.
Yeah,
and
please, and keep it here.
Exactly. And the next morning we woke up giving each other high fives in bed. So I was like, hey, this works. And so, she was into herbology. I was into entrepreneurism. And so we started selling it online. Our first sale was in Poland. And from there, it was like, well, it really does work for the vast majority of guys who are using it. This is a great thing. And then there were the guys it didn't work for. And that was sort of confusing. It's like, if it's working for all of these guys, but it's not working for you, what's going on? And so just asking questions, doing some interviews, doing research, doing some polling, just finding out what was going on. And lo and behold, the answer is we're selling a supplement, and it's supposed to supplement the other things you do. Gotcha. And most people don't know the other things that you're supposed to do. So with all the research, doing blogging, just talking with guys, and, just over a period of time, it's not that I'm a genius, but if you're focusing on one thing for a long period of time, you figure some things out.
Hell yeah.
And, during that process, and about a good 3 or 4 years ago, I hopped on YouTube and started doing videos there, just giving out free information, basically. And, it became very interesting because as I started having more and more deeper conversations with guys, it became less of, when I first started, it was like, I really didn't plan on in my life to be a sexologist, as some guys would call me, a D doctor, let's just say.
Yeah.
Good at that.
Yeah.
I really wasn't, even when I did the YouTube, I was like, I really don't want to just get out there. But then I started having those conversations where it was like, hey, this is really affecting people's lives, their relationships. I've had guys who didn't get married. They weren't going to get married until they came across my information and, doing the right things. Guys have gotten divorced. Guys have lost their families. So once you understand that side of it, you're like, okay, this is more serious in terms of giving people the right information. So that was that's the journey, and it continues on. I learn stuff every day, and I love giving out the information because I realize it can change lives.
Absolutely. I love this. So what would you say is the biggest issue for couples with regards to this topic?
Really, it's on both of them, but it's more on the men. And I would say from the standpoint of you need to understand this information. Unfortunately, it's in the past has been, like we've said before, it's sort of taboo. You don't really talk about it. And there's a reason for that, because in the 50s, I believe there was a roughly like 2% of men were reporting ED issues. And now it is much higher. And it's not just because, all of a sudden guys are just, something's not working. It's because of the environment that we're living in and all that good stuff. So the way that we're living right now is in complete contrary to nature. So we're inside most of the times. We're looking at electronics. We're stressed about a whole bunch of things that our bodies weren't designed to be stressed about. And so all of that adds up. And so when you're talking to, in order for a guy to even communicate to his woman that there's an issue, he has to understand that there is an issue.
Yes.
And for a lot of times we're thinking that it's, it's psychological. I call it the 80-20 rule of sexual performance. For men, it's 80% physical, 20% mental.
Yeah.
And for women, it's the opposite. As long as they're physically able to, then it's everything. You don't have a member that needs to move.
Yeah.
So for, even for the ladies, I often say, I give it the Valentine's Day situation. So it's like on Valentine's Day, what happens? Well, if he's already got some stress issues, well, that's already there. And then, he's got the chocolate. So you give you the chocolate, and he's going to eat a couple of pieces. His testosterone level's going down. And then you go out for the steak and lobster and, with the mashed potatoes. And it's like, well, now you got inflammation from the animal meat. And then you got more sugar from that, the potato. And then you have dessert, more sugar. And then, of course, you have to have something to drink. So then you have the alcohol, which is just a poison that happens to make you feel woozy.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to go home and perform.
Yeah.
Disaster.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, this happens almost daily for most people, where they're eating sweets, not even aware that the amount of sugar that's even just in a glass of orange juice has a huge impact on your testosterone levels. And you're eating meat at every meal.
Yeah.
Just going through life stressed. You're looking at your social media, yelling at people you don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know you.
Right.
So that's what's going on. We're in an artificial environment, and the things that we're doing daily are not helping.
So it sounds like one of the main reasons why this is such a big issue is because, for one, men don't understand the degree of this issue. And it's kind of like we blow it off. And when we don't know what we don't know, kind of goes back to that saying, ignorance is bliss. How would you say shame, embarrassment also ties into why couples aren't having this discussion?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, well, one, the unfortunate place where you find out about this is during the most vulnerable time that there is.
Yes.
You're basically naked together. And something that, especially the first or second time that it happens, for a guy, it's like, oh, this hasn't been a problem my entire life. And then all of a sudden, what just happened? Why did this happen?
Yeah, I'm ready, but why isn't he ready?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a couple of things that can happen from there. We're talking about the whole thing of spectatoring, where, the guy's just sitting there thinking like, okay, she's home now. I should be erect. She's taking her clothes off now. I should be erect. She's touching me. I should be erect. And I was like, well, now you're increasing your level of cortisol, your stress hormone, because you're stressing about your Johnson, because you're sitting there trying to look at it like, that's why you call it spectatoring, expecting it to perform. And it's like, well, before this, you never did that. And so you're actually creating more of a problem by focusing in on it. And for a lot of guys, the first time they hear about this, they're like, oh, okay, well, let me just calm down and relax, and, it'll come to you. A couple of other things is just a recognition that for men, we don't get touched. If you think about it, it's like we go through the day. It's like, for women, you can go, walk up to each other, hug each other. You can actually hug, other guys to a point. It seems fine. Whereas for men, if we're in a relationship, we're not expected to be walking around hugging other women. When we hug other men, we get the arm right there in the middle. Yeah. We get to that thing right there. And for ladies, you can just walk over like, oh, is this your baby? Oh, can I hold it? Oh, let me hold it. Yeah. For guys, excuse me, ma'am, can I hold your baby?
Yeah, that's not working. Yeah, you're getting dropped. So
we're exactly. So you don't get that level of touch or that level of affection. And also, just the environment that you're in. When you're in college, you're in co-ed, you're seeing, women all over the place. You're talking about sex, all this other kind of stuff that can just turn you on. And you get into the workplace. Now we're talking about 401ks and your soccer game and, things like that. So you just completely, you don't have the physical touch. You don't have the emotional or the stimulation going on. And so all that leads up to you're not able to perform And one of the main things that's missing for guys, a lot of guys, is the foreplay.
Yeah.
Everything I just mentioned before was sort of the foreplay. And now you have nothing, and you just expect you to come home, get in bed, and perform. And, for a lot of guys, they did that before, and now they're trying to figure out, why isn't that working? Well, you don't have that testosterone that was building up all during the day, and you're getting older, so your testosterone is sort of leaving. So once you understand, it's like, hey, you need to be the one who's initiating that phone call. Hey, baby, what you wearing? Let's think this through. And also, once you get into the mood and everything, just start touching. It's like, hey, yeah, there's more than one part of your body that can turn her on. And it also turns you on. So yeah, foreplay is for men.
Awesome. I love that you said that. And I never really thought about like how often men are touched, and it's like, as you're talking about it, it's like, oh yeah, I don't want anybody touching my husband. Like, get your hands off, like, right? Like, what are you doing? Knock that shit off. But yeah, come and touch me, right? Like, but not obviously in that way, but like with hugs, and there is that for women. Yeah, we're definitely constantly comforting each other, and if we see, if it's a friend, we'll hug a guy, and their wife or whoever they're with. But it's more acceptable. I guess that's what ultimately you're saying. It's definitely more acceptable than it is for men. Men aren't going to have that ability. So my ultimate question, and yes, I'm going to start off, we're going in.
Okay. Let's
go. Right? What do us wives need to know? So I want to go ahead and tap into a male's perspective. What do us wives ultimately need to know about men's sexual performance? Because I feel like, a common misunderstanding for couples is, well, all my husband wants is sex. And if he could have sex every single day, he'd have it. And, I'm tired. And, if, my husband, he just, if I'm not giving him sex, he complains. And it wasn't until I had a conversation, I obviously hearing that as a therapist working with couples, I started to hear it more. And when I actually had a conversation with my husband, I had asked him that, what is this? Like, why is it so important that you guys are constantly having sex? And he had mentioned to me, he's like, well, it's not necessarily about having sex. For me, I use it as, he goes, whether this is healthy or not, I use it as a guide to see how well we are, how well connected we are. And if we're not having sex, then we're in a bad place. And it might be you no longer being attracted to me, you being fed up with me, you being frustrated with me. That's how I see it. I don't see it as, oh, I just want her 50. He goes, all day, every day. He goes, although that's true. He's like, there's that other part where I kind of gauge where our relationship is at based on our level of intimacy.
Yeah.
So having said that, what would you say is, if you can talk, well, you are talking to all of us wives, and some husbands, what do we need to know? What do we need to know about this?
Okay. So we're talking about a couple of phases of life.
Yes.
So when we're early on, when you're younger, that level of testosterone, our primary directive on this planet is to bear fruit and multiply. And so the greatest entertainment set ever devised is right between our legs. And so, when you're younger, you have the drive to do your prime directive, go out there and do your multiplication. So what happens though, as you get older, it does change. You still have that thing of, I really do want to, because that's still there. That testosterone level is still there. And truthfully, ladies, you do want that to stay there, because as a man's testosterone levels goes down, so does his longevity, not just in the bed, but just in terms of life. So you do want him to stay healthy with a healthy amount of testosterone. And there are a plethora of reasons, why guys just in life just want to keep having, sex. It feels good. I mean, that's the most honest side of it. One of the things that's an issue though is that this applies to women as well as men, is that testosterone levels are going down worldwide. My grandfather had more testosterone than I do. His grandfather had more testosterone than he did. And that's just because of the lifestyles that we're living. We're literally supposed to be laying down on the earth. Maybe we're like a cowhide in between us and the planet, and then you actually get energy from the earth. So your blood actually flows more. We're supposed to be out in the sun more. Vitamin D that we're getting, which is actually a hormone, is a precursor to testosterone. So we need to be out in the sun. We're supposed to be drinking more water. 75% of people are chronically dehydrated. So there's so many things that are just wrong that's lowering our testosterone levels. And so that's happening for women also. So what primarily drives women to want to have sex is testosterone. So their testosterone is already 10 times lower than a man's. And so if it goes lower, she doesn't want to have sex. His testosterone is, you're getting older, it's coming down, but you still it's still there.
Gotcha.
Somebody said something that was, this is really weird.
Let's do it. We do weird here.
That's good. Okay. On naval vessels. So you have all these young men.
Okay, wait a minute. That's a little too weird. No, just kidding. Go. No, we
gotta go there.
Go. Let's do it.
But yeah, naval vessels is, you have a whole bunch of young men who are out at sea for long periods of time. You have that energy that is there. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening, they would take a chicken gizzards, put them into a jar and say, hey, go for it. I mean, it's literally, that's our drive is so much there that, masturbation, porn, all of that, it's just there. It's supposed to be there. Yeah. Society now says that, you're supposed to keep tamp it down. And that's not necessarily helpful or healthy for us. So, it would be helpful for women to understand that side of it. It is, we accept, that for women, that time of the month comes around, your hormones change, your attitude changes. Yeah. The exact same thing happens for men. It's not something that we can necessarily control. That's just there. So helping us in terms of hey, you know what? I don't feel like I'm in the mood, but we can do something else to relieve you. Yeah. That's literally it. You're just relieving that level of stress, the pressure to procreate is there. So understanding that and helping us to just relieve it, you don't have to go into the whole act. You can just hey, come over here and let me use my hand.
Yeah. No, you could say it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you could say, I think it's important for you to tell us hey, I can go ahead, and give you a hand job. I can go ahead and give you a blow job, whatever that is. But I love that point that you made, not having sex impacts longevity. And it's that's one of the primary complaints for women is longevity, right? Because it takes women a lot longer to climax than it does men. And so if that's one of your primary complaints, well, you got to be a part of addressing the issue. And that issue is, there being some level of consistency with regards to sex.
Yes.
Right.
One great thing I learned recently, a guy was setting up sex dates. And I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah. So for him and his wife, on Monday and Thursdays, that was their day. Yeah. And, put the kids to the side, and, there's obviously a level of balance. They communicate well with this. They're saying that, okay, for him, because today is just too stressful. For her, today is too stressful. Yeah. But you have another date. Another thing that's great about that is that as men age, we go through changes. Once again, that physical side is having that member move.
When does that happen? When does that performance, when would you say that starts to change?
It's different for everybody, but if you're looking at it, we talk
estimate-wise.
Yeah. The sexual performance scale basically puts it at roughly a good 35 to 40. Oh. So the sexual performance scale is a scale of 1 to 10. 10 means everything works. Imagine a 21-year-old college athlete. Or 1 means you need to go to a hospital. Imagine that same athlete at 81 who hasn't taken care of his body. Most guys are between a 5 and a 7 that I work with who are in that unreliable stage. And so when you're at age 20 to 25, you're roughly a 10. Age 25 to 30, you're a 9. Age 30 to 35, you're an 8. And age 35 to 40, you're a 7. And at that 7, that's when you start hitting that point of oh, okay, yesterday everything was fine. Today it's not. Mm-hmm. What happened? Mm-hmm. Could be, you used to be able to drink and, the same night it will happen. Now it needs to be the next night. Now you need, that's the whole thing about that sex date. You can actually set yourself up to understand is like, hey, if I eat this, this is going to affect my sex. If I drink this is going to affect my sex. If I do this is going to affect my sex. So you need to understand what's going on. And the issue, though, is, we call that level from age roughly 37 to into 47. That's the danger zone. The danger zone is like, if you don't start turning this around, this is going to get very difficult, because after 47 and you haven't turned this around, you hit the wall. The wall for men is basically, it becomes increasingly difficult to get back to the point where you have frequent, normal, your 7, 8, 9, 10 in terms of your erections. It's like, imagine going up a hill and trying to climb a wall. It becomes increasingly more difficult. That wall, we've had some guys who've come back over, and we have some guys who like, well, it's
damn near
and
impossible.
The thing to, it's sort of sad, because I have clients who, like, on that sexual performance scale, they were 0.
Yeah.
Because they took some medications, they were taking steroids, something like that, and they end up in that position. And, to go through life, for the next 30, 40 years without an erection is, that's one word for it.
Yeah.
And the thing also for both men and women to realize is, a study was done that basically said that 40% of men over 40 have erection issues, 50% of men over 50, 60% of men over 60, and 70% of men over 70, which basically sort of makes sense. You go to an old folks home, you're not really looking at, the vast majority of men running around saying, hey, everything works.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual decline. And, you have to focus in on it. The thing, when I do talk to 18-year-olds too. I talk to people, men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And, what I'm noticing is that, one, it's getting younger, but two, if you don't understand what's going on earlier now. Yeah. I'm 51. So when I was a kid, I'm growing up, it was like McDonald's was a treat. Now McDonald's is 24/7, and the food has gotten worse.
Yeah.
And so that's just an example of, like, if the younger you are, the harder it is, because, it went from something once a month to something you can get 3 times a day, even at nighttime. So you have to be careful, because it is a gradual decline. You're not really paying attention. It's like I said, it's one day, she's like, you could be into it. You could actually be having sex, and then your erection leaves during sex. And that's never a good feeling.
Well, so it sounds like for you, and Uncle B is saying, ladies, have more sex. Give your husband more sex. So I love that you said you can have an erection while you're having sex, and then the erection subside, so go away.
Yes.
So let's talk about that, because that is happening in marriages, and what's happening. So I'm going to tell you what's happening with couples is the women automatically go into shit. I'm fat. I'm overweight. The lights were on. Like, all of these insecurities come up for the women, right? Yes. And then all of, like, a husband is like, woman has no clue. The wife has no clue. All of the insecurities that are also coming up for him, which is a great amount of shame, a great amount of embarrassment. And I mean, for most husbands that I've talked to, they're just happy their wife engaged in sex. They don't give a shit what she looks like. They don't give a shit about those 10 pounds, 20 pounds, how she's positioned. He's glad she's positioned that way, even if her role is dangling. He doesn't care. He's just glad you picked him to have sex with, right?
Absolutely.
So talk more about that. So the husband's erect, they're having sex, the erection goes away.
Okay.
Take us
so
there.
There can be, once again, it's a multitude of reasons that can happen. Well, actually, what I've done is narrowed it down. So let me go ahead and talk about what we talked about, what you were mentioning early in the introduction. ESEIS is ECIS 25, E25 for short, and we call it the exponential energy formula. So the ESEIS, that's energy, sleep, exercise, intermittent fasting, and soul.
Gotcha.
So when we talk about energy, we're talking about what you consume, the food that you eat, the being out in the sun, getting enough water. When we're talking about S, we're talking about sleep. and getting high quality sleep for the amount of time that's necessary. When we're talking about exercise, we mean be on an exercise program that is helpful for your testosterone. So you're not overdoing it, but you're doing specific things, lifting heavy, doing high intensity interval training, intermittent fasting, because we've been told to eat all the time, and that's not a good idea. You need to let your body digest the food and have some time to turn the food into what you need it for. And also for the last S is for soul, the psychological side of it, the stressful side of it, being able, how you connect with not only her, but also with the rest of the world, so that, you're either going to be, like you said, the fight or flight all the time. You're in sympathetic mode or your parasympathetic mode, the rest and digest side of things, where you're able to relax and enjoy sex and things like that. So the reason why I bring that up when it comes to why you can lose your erection in the middle of having sex is it could be simply that you ate something earlier on that was sugary or that had inflammation, and you're sitting there. That's when you're having that particular issue on that sexual performance scale. That's like it starts at 6. Typically a 7 is like, okay, I can get an erection. It just didn't happen yesterday, but I can get an erection, go all the way through. A 6 is like, I can get an erection sometimes, and then sometimes it just leaves without me, doing anything. And
while
just
having
for ladies,
sex. Yeah.
Yeah. And, for the ladies, just to know, is the thing is that if he's having sex with you, he wants to have sex with you. It's not like all of a sudden, you know what, I was in the middle of this and just, nah.
You did gain 10 pounds. I could see it right there.
Yeah, he's not thinking about that at all. He's enjoying himself. And, the one thing that can be a problem that, if she's thinking just about herself. Yeah. He's thinking just about himself. So you're both, it's intimacy. You're supposed to be into your mate. Now you're at a point where you're not into him. No. You're just thinking about yourself. And so he's now, I've done this, laying there thinking like, okay, this is embarrassing. You was, hey, want to watch a movie? You start coming up with other things to think about.
Arguments tend to happen too during that time.
Oh yeah. It's like, you don't love me anymore, or it's like, well, in the other guy, for some guys, it's like, I don't want to take the blame, so they won't blame it on her. And like, there's too much tension going on. Just recognize, one, this happens. You're human. You're going to get older. Thank God. And so go with that, but understand, if this is happening, it's a reason. And the whole basis of ECS 25 is just showing you your patterns.
Gotcha.
So if you're in our program, basically what we're doing is training you to track yourself every day for your energy, sleep, exercise, intermittent fasting, and soul. And you set your goal up. So if your goal is to not eat as much meat to lower the inflammation so you get more blood flow, then, if you're eating meat at every meal, it's like one meal, no meat. Okay, you did that, you get your 5. Sleep, you get, instead of 5 hours sleep, you get 6 hours sleep. That was your goal, you get 5. Exercise, you did your exercise a day, or if today was the day you rest. Okay, you on schedule, you get your 5. Intermittent fasting, you went from eating every morning at 7 a.m. to like you went to 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. You extended your eating, your window of not eating. Okay, you set your goal, you get your 5, and for your stress, you're doing meditation, or you finally got that pile of bills out of the way. Just knowing where everything is, you're scoring yourself. So if you get all 5,
so all these 5s are points. It's a point system.
Exactly. It's you against you. It's a challenge. And so if you're doing these 5 things, you're getting exponentially better every day. We talk about just the 1% better. We just need you to get 1% better. So a lot of people want to do the New Year's thing. Like, I'm going to change everything at one time.
Everything. I'm a big new person. Yeah.
And you tried that last year and the year before that, and year before that, and year before that. And so now, here's a pattern for you to look at every day. And you can go back and say, okay, why did the other day, 3 times we had, sex 3 times last week, and, this week is like, it's just off. What's going on? It's like, oh, now I can go back and like, over the weekend, we went over to the fella's place. We, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and we just drank way too much, ate too much crap. And so Monday, during a normally scheduled, time, things weren't working. Yeah. So you need to understand both the man and the woman needs to understand what the pattern is, because, she can help with the pattern. And also a great thing for women to do is to understand, be supportive, and say the number one thing. Oh, doesn't matter. We're together. We're going to have sex again. So, okay, relax.
Yeah.
If he's getting that message of like, oh, don't, next time, we're going to be okay. He's not going to go into spectatoring. And for the ladies, once again, if he's having sex with you, he wants to continue. He wants to keep going. But it's a frustrating thing for, if both people don't understand, I've seen this happen way too many times. That can lead to, divorce or, a huge number of things. Whereas if you're doing it, you're understanding each other, loving on each other, it gets much better.
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns, some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time. You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
I love everything you're giving us, because it's providing us women a better understanding of what's actually happening for the man. What do we do if, another question I get from women is, what do we do if our husband doesn't want to talk about it? He doesn't want to talk about it. It happened. Obviously, we noticed that he went from erect to not erect. How do we bring up this conversation to our partners so that, for one, it's in no way, shape, or form shaming our husbands. However, at the same time, we're having this uncomfortable conversation. And that's the question. How do you have this uncomfortable conversation with your husband?
Well, first, send them to me. Well, being serious in a way, obviously not everybody can send their husbands to me, but the whole point is that he needs to understand what's going on. And that's part of the reason. If you're asking somebody to answer something they don't know the answer to, then it becomes difficult. It's like, why you keep asking me? I don't know. I mean, that's what's going through his head. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it because I don't know. So, if he knows, about the sexual performance scale, about the, the danger zone, about the ECS 25, the things that he needs to do, then it becomes much easier. One important thing to do is not talk about it right then. That's
beautiful.
You're already vulnerable, and the the suspect is still at the crime scene. He's just laying here. He's not doing anything. That's not a good time to we really need to talk about your health. We really need to talk.
How do we bring it up? How do we bring it up?
So the next time, you're talking about hey, you know what? What are we doing tonight? Because, I really like to get with you. But, I remember last time you had some, there were some issues. So ask him what his patterns were. It's like, do you think you'll be ready tonight? Do you need me to do anything? Do you need a supplement like Goodwood? Do you need, what do you need to make this happen? So that's when you're in a state where it's like, well, now he wants to do something and you're helping him. Hey, you want to have sex? Let me help you get to your goal. That's a much easier time to have this conversation, so that, he's open to we're men, we're solution oriented. And it's like, if you put a problem in front of us, it's like, not a problem behind us. Now I got to fix something in the rear.
Yeah.
Like I can't, that was,
That
we're in
happens.
bed right now. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Give me some time. Let me get it figured out.
Gotcha.
That makes a lot more sense to us.
So it sounds like what you're saying is take a more supportive approach. What
Absolutely.
can we do? Like, what can we do? It sounds like, in a sense, like, in what way can I better serve you? In what way can I better support you? I love how you also said, go ahead.
Yeah. And especially the nutrition part,
Yeah.
if we're looking for the nurturer to come out in you in terms of like, hey, nurturing nutrition, can you beforehand not make hot dogs,
Gotcha.
not make processed food, and just something just in general. The way to think of this is that then we give life. Women give birth, men give life. We have to give energy.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for us to give energy, we need to have energy. And where do we get the bulk of our energy from? From food. And if we go into a grocery store, you're walking down the aisles, there's only one aisle in the grocery store that has energy, and that's the produce aisle. Every other aisle is dead. Even the food, the meat is dead. Obviously, it's dead. Everything else is designed to sit on the shelves for years. And so that's not a healthy thing for someone who's supposed to be able to give the spark of life. Help him out by just going in there. It's like, hey, you know what? The way that I get people to do the transition, because I had to go through the transition. I used to eat 200 to 250 animals a month.
Yeah.
Now I'm down to 4. And the transition was that I went through the process of I would eat fruits, vegetables, whatever, before the regular meal. So it's a process of changing your body over to understanding like, hey, this is nutrition. This is just something that you were told to eat. Gotcha. So you keep getting that nutrition inside of your body. And then, it just naturally occurs in terms of like the people always ask, what's the best fruit or vegetable to eat? It's like, well, it's all of them, because it affects your body in so many different ways. It's when we get a vitamin or pill, it's just taking care of one thing. When you get in fruits and vegetables, it's taking care of vitamin K, vitamin B, vitamin B12, all these different things that the nutrition helps your body so that you're able to give that energy.
Gotcha. So have a better understanding of, you mentioned the fact that he does need some source of energy. Obviously, we're not mothering him. We're not going to be his mom, but just keeping that in mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, so understanding patterns, keeping that in mind, being cognizant that having that conversation in bed is not going to happen. Being able to go ahead and be there as a support system. Is there any other thing that we can do as wives to support our partner if they are struggling with, erectile dysfunction? Because another thing I get from women is he won't go to the doctor. He wants to have sex, but he won't go to the doctor. And then here I am, ready to go. I've prepped myself. I've done everything. I've given him head. I've done this. And it's like, I'm ready. And then he's not. And it's like there's so much resentment because he won't go to the damn doctor, but yet there's all of these expectations. And again, these are common things I hear from couples.
All right.
What would be your feedback for both, for the women and for the wife as well as for the husband?
Challenge.
Okay, tell me more.
That's what we like. We as men, we like challenge. We like competition. So that's what I do with my groups. We do challenges. I just did a personal challenge to lose 25 pounds in 30 days and lost 23 pounds.
Holy moly.
Yeah. But doing challenges, it's like challenges. Get into the conversation of just, I say this to everybody. You're a sexual performance athlete. You're an athlete. This is the one performance that you want to do for your entire life.
So you're saying that right now. You're saying we're all sexual performance athletes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure we were clear. Ladies, you are a sexual performance athlete. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. If there's one reason why you want to stay in shape, it's to enjoy the greatest entertainment set ever invented, which is right between your legs. So let's go ahead and go for it. So that's, when I'm talking to my guys, it's like, yeah, use the ECS 25 to challenge yourself. And also that's the carrot. Here's the stick. If you don't get this fixed, it's going to stay this way for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you can either come over here on this side. I tell guys all the time, it's like, if you're consuming too much meat, causing inflammation, that the capillaries in your penis, the capillaries are, very small, to the point there's only one blood platelet at a time. You are not good with inflammation down there at all. Having plaque or anything down there is not a good idea. And what can cause that? Overconsumption of meat. And if you're, it's like, hey, dude, do you want to have a chicken or an erection?
Yeah.
That's on you. So, it needs to be that thing of like, hey, it's a little bit of competition, a little bit of challenge, even, and when I say the challenge really is to study it. There's so many different ways that your testosterone is affected by everything. I mean, it's a huge hormone, for your sexual ability. And even, for example, if your team wins, the football teams, you're not even on the team. Your football team wins, your testosterone levels goes up.
How do we? So I think I'm losing you, because how do we do that? So we're challenging our husband, and we're going to make this a competition. I guess I don't understand.
He needs to engage with him and understanding that he needs to study. If you both of you have to get, because it's really it. You can't just sit there and say, I'm not going to do anything.
No.
And even going to the doctor is going to basically just inform him of what's already known. Like, hey, yeah, you're not working, and we can either just taking a pill. Just so people know, with Viagra, it actually cuts the blood flow from leaving out of the penis. That's the reason why you get an erection. So that's not dealing with the testosterone or the blood flow, the two main issues. So you actually have to do something in order for that to change. So there isn't, he's going to have to do something. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Let him know that, hey, you're either going to get this going, and here's a way to do it. Look at your patterns. Get to exercising, get to all these different things. Once again, you're just not going to, we're not going to have sex for the rest of our marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to have to do something, like I said, send him my way. That's, I do the uncle thing and just let you know. And the interesting thing is that people often say that men don't like talking about this. When I start talking to guys, they won't shut up.
Yeah. Well, there's a different level. And one thing that I appreciate, them having conversations with us, that's going to, I know, when my husband came back from Afghanistan, there was so much, he was bombed twice. There was a lot of things going on when he had come back from Afghanistan. He's a retired Marine. There were so many things that were going on that was impacting his body. It was impacting everything. And I know definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, a lot of what you're saying definitely worked for us. It was, I wasn't placing blame. There was definitely this level of understanding. I was 1,000%, aware of whatever insecurities were coming up for me, and open to developing this understanding on his end. That does take time. And so I can see why, going, or recommending that, our partners go to Uncle B. There is this sense of validation when you're having this uncomfortable conversation with somebody that can provide you with tools and resources to get you to where you want to go. And I love that your approach is very educational. And at the same time, there's no criticism. There's no judgment. And it's like, hey, man, this is what's going on, and I'm going to guide you along the way.
And that's why I'm very transparent, because, I've gone through that process, and it does not feel comfortable. It does not feel good.
No.
And when you don't know what's going on, it is confusing. And so, that's having that sympathy, that empathy for the guy is very important, because, like I said, a lot of times, because there are, I would say there are good, that I've come across, there are a good number of people who talk about this, maybe not exactly the way that I do, but it's not a normal conversation. This isn't something you turn on TV and it's like, hey, okay, here he goes. The
Let's
way
talk
I've
about
done
why you couldn't keep it up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. In this episode, it's like, oh God, no. One of the things that I've tried to do is just have, different guys come on camera so we can talk about it, but they want to avoid the camera. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Understand that. But once you hear other people, I hear the conversation because I'm having the conversation.
Yeah.
Once you hear the conversations, you're like, oh, okay, it's not just me. And of course it's not. It's like, dude, get over yourself. You're not that special that somehow only you are the one who having erection issues. It's like you do see the hows of commercials that are on TV saying that there's something wrong, because there is something wrong. And, the path to the interesting thing about this entire process is that it's easy to overcome. It's easy to get back up. The problem is just our minds, because if you want to, in terms of like, hey, you know what, if you got better sleep where your testosterone forms and, all this great stuff, then it's going to work.
Yeah.
And,
Definitely.
you have some guys it's like, well, yeah, it's going to work. And after I get, finish this and then finish this and then finish this, and they're just sitting there looking at TV and, not getting good sleep, and it's a process for getting good sleep.
Yeah.
When it comes to, eating, some people's like, I'm not giving up my donuts, my Twinkie flavored hamburger. I'm not giving up these things. It's like, yeah, you're going,
It is going to be an adjustment, it sounds like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if I just took a guy and it's like, I just put him strictly on the E25 program and we're going to change all 5 things quickly.
Yeah.
Within a month, you're talking about, you're back up to full erections. And, let me just say this one thing. We're actually coming out with another formula. So really quickly, the formula we started out with is called Goodwood. It is all natural. It's a liquid formula that's made from 8 different herbs. And, we're selling it for 23 years now. So it works.
Yeah.
And even for the people it doesn't work necessarily for, we put them in a position where it can work for them. And we also make recommendations for other products if necessary. But we're actually coming out with another product, and it's Goodwood Advanced. And this is for older gentlemen like myself. I love this product. That's because as you get older, your testosterone receptors start getting worn out. Yeah. So you have free testosterone that's going around your body saying, hey, I want to connect. And, so it can do something. And your receptors are saying, no. We're worn out. This new formula has nettle, which is an herb that helps your body start receiving that testosterone. So you can actually, start your testosterone levels goes up because you're getting the sun, you're eating correctly. And as you get older, now your receptors are receiving it. The testosterone it's a great thing for you. So it's, those are the type of things that you need to I wish someone would have told me this.
Yeah.
Many years ago. Yeah.
I love this. So how can we find you? So let's say women, wives are listening to this, husbands are listening to this, and it's like, okay, we're ready. How do we find you? How do we work with Uncle B?
Give Goodwood. That's just go to on YouTube. There's Give Goodwood. Facebook, Give Goodwood. Instagram and Twitter, Give Goodwood. And of course, if you want to reach me directly, there's B Ayers at AyersNaturals.com. That's BAYERS at AyersNaturals, AYERS Naturals with an S.com. That's my direct connect. And if you go to givegoodwood.com, we also have a quiz on there.
Nice. That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So you can go through and you can figure out where you are on the sexual performance scale.
Okay.
And from there, it becomes a lot easier to be able to figure out what's going on. If you're a 4 on that scale, it's like, we got to get to work right now. There is no time to waste. If you're a 7, it's like, okay, you just have a couple of things that we have to look at. And a lot of times people don't realize, I was recently dealing with a 28-year-old male nurse, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. It was like, oh, you're working a night shift. So you're not getting that level of sleep. Your body's expected to go to turn off at night with the circadian rhythm, the sun going down, coming up. You're off of that, so it's going to cause issues. You have to adjust. So there's actually things that you need to understand, so that, you know, if you're heading home in the morning, you got your sunshades up, your skin is covered up so that the sun isn't telling your body to wake back up. You need to program your body to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So you actually do get sleep, and understand at some point in your life, you need to get to the day shift. So
yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited for the audience to contact you and really work with you. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Love it.
We can all use a little help in our marriage, especially when it comes to communicating. I have created a guide just for you. And guess what? It's 100% free. I will give you practical tips and easy-to-use strategies to apply right now. That's right, right now, today. You all know I'm a huge advocate for you mamas, and I am on a mission to help you experience true connection and stress-free living. Ladies, we are setting our marriages up for success. It starts with you. You will find this freebie here in my show notes, or go to empoweredandunapologetic.com/guide. The information I will be providing you is next level, and people pay good money to get these tips that I will be giving you for free. Don't forget to share this with a friend who needs it. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.
It's easy to blame ourselves for our struggles with alcohol. We see people around us being able to control their drinking without any consequences, yet no matter what we try, we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. My name is Jillian Teets, and I am the host of the Sober Powered podcast, where I use my biochemistry background to explain the latest research in addiction and help you understand both why you drink the way you do and how to develop the skills and mindset you need to find freedom from alcohol. I discuss topics like why we think about our drinking 24/7, why we have no off switch, and why we crave alcohol. If you're struggling with your drinking or you know someone who is, then I hope that you will check out the Sober Powered podcast. New episodes every Friday. See you there. It's easy to blame ourselves for our struggles with alcohol. We see people around us being able to control their drinking without any consequences, yet no matter what we try, we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. My name is Jillian Teets, and I am the host of the Sober Powered podcast, where I use my biochemistry background to explain the latest research in addiction and help you understand both why you drink the way you do and how to develop the skills and mindset you need to find freedom from alcohol. I discuss topics like why we think about our drinking 24/7, why we have no off switch, and why we crave alcohol. If you're struggling with your drinking or you know someone who is, then I hope that you will check out the Sober Powered podcast. New episodes every Friday. See you there.
I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober-curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the 4th time today.
Addiction impacts all of us. Addiction's consequences run through all of us. From ourselves to our loved ones and through our communities, addiction creates so much loss and grief. My name is Dwayne Osterlin, and I'm the host of the Addicted Mind podcast, a show featuring personal stories, expert guests, and vital information about addiction and addiction recovery. We'll talk with leading treatment providers to discuss the latest research and treatment options for this devastating disease and advocate for mental health awareness. We discuss topics like the importance of creating a community of support, to helping loved ones, to some of the latest research on psychedelic medicines. The Addicted Mind podcast has been about creating hope, listening to stories of many amazing people that have overcome addiction and are thriving. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, subscribe to the Addicted Mind podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or check out theaddictedmind.com. New episodes every Monday. See you there.
It's easy to blame ourselves for our struggles with alcohol. We see people around us being able to control their drinking without any consequences, yet no matter what we try, we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. My name is Jillian Teets, and I am the host of the Sober Powered podcast, where I use my biochemistry background to explain the latest research in addiction and help you understand both why you drink the way you do and how to develop the skills and mindset you need to find freedom from alcohol. I discuss topics like why we think about our drinking 24/7, why we have no off switch, and why we crave alcohol. If you're struggling with your drinking or you know someone who is, then I hope that you will check out the Sober Powered podcast. New episodes every Friday. See you there. It's easy to blame ourselves for our struggles with alcohol. We see people around us being able to control their drinking without any consequences, yet no matter what we try, we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. My name is Jillian Teets, and I am the host of the Sober Powered podcast, where I use my biochemistry background to explain the latest research in addiction and help you understand both why you drink the way you do and how to develop the skills and mindset you need to find freedom from alcohol. I discuss topics like why we think about our drinking 24/7, why we have no off switch, and why we crave alcohol. If you're struggling with your drinking or you know someone who is, then I hope that you will check out the Sober Powered podcast. New episodes every Friday. See you there.
I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober-curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the 4th time today.
I'm Madeline, and I'm the host of the Happiest Sober podcast. I got sober in my 20s after a decade of gray area drinking, and the greatest plot twist of all time was realizing that alcohol, the thing that I thought made my life the most happy and fun and exciting, was actually the exact thing preventing me from living my happiest and best life. My mom is 40 years sober, and she joins me on my podcast very often. I like to call her my part-time co-host, and I also bring you solo episodes where I share my top tips, tricks, and mindset shifts in sobriety, and lots of how-tos for navigating all the things sober, from weddings to parties to holidays to bachelorette parties to trips. I'm also joined by so many guests who come on and share their sober stories, and they're all so inspiring. I'm here to show you that life doesn't end when you quit drinking. In fact, it's very much the opposite. And no matter what your relationship was with alcohol, life can be the absolute happiest when you're sober. New episodes come out every Tuesday. You can listen to Happiest Sober podcast wherever you get your podcasts.